what do you hear going on in the U.S. Federal government? And not just Obama, but go back as long as you like. You haven't heard anything about support for entrepreneurial ventures. All you hear is bailouts for big guys who are creating zero net new jobs anyway. Frankly, if you're from the government, put your hands over your ears. Frankly, maybe that's why companies less than 5 years old have created 40 million jobs in the last 30 years in the U.S. They've been operating under the radar of the federal government. So we angels are funding about 20,000 new companies, 50,000 companies in total every year, and the companies that we fund are all less than 5 years old, so we're operating right in the sweet spot of job creation in the U.S. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about wealth creation. I know I'm in academia and creating wealth. Oh, wait a minute, I'm in a business school. It's okay to talk about wealth creation. Let's talk about wealth creation. I don't know if everybody in the room has heard of this guy or not. He was a U.S. management guru for several decades. For you who are from the engineering or the science schools that never heard of Peter Drucker, think Albert Einstein. Same kind of class of individual. Really a hero of management education in the U.S. Here's what Albert Einstein, there we go. Here's what Peter Drucker had to say about doing good in the U.S. in 1993. His conclusion was that government programs tackling social problems have not and did not and will not work. But he said that independent, nonprofit agencies have impressive records in education, alcoholism, drug abuse, poverty, mental health, healthcare, and elsewhere. Okay. Furthermore, in 1998, Drucker predicted that the private sector wealth created by entrepreneurs would prove to be the most effective source of philanthropy in the 21st century. And that's because entrepreneurs, he recognized at that point in time, were creating huge wealth, and they tended to want to run charities like a business. What a concept. Now, Bill Gates and others are now proving him correct, but I'm going to talk about a few other guys. So let me tell you about 3 successful entrepreneurs who are demonstrating my thesis. This is Pierre Omidyar. He is the 42-year-old founder of eBay. He was born in Paris. He's a computer geek. He's worth count it, $8 billion. Wow. He formed Omidyar Network, and he has promised to give away 99% of his net worth in the next 20 years. Now, I don't know how, you can calculate 1% of 8 billion I don't know how in the hell he's expected to live on only $80 million for the next 20 years, but somehow he'll have to find a way to do that. If you want to know more about his philanthropy, I suggest that you visit his the website for his foundation, the Omidyar Network. Pierre is doing some wonderful things to make social change in the U.S. Here's Peter Thiel, 43, born in Germany, came to the U.S., co-founded PayPal, sold it for a ton of money. He and his friends from PayPal have invested in dozens of startups now valued at $30 billion. This poor sucker invested $500,000 in Facebook after he got out of PayPal. Can you believe how unlucky a guy could be? Poor guy. Let's look what Peter's doing. He's founded the Methuselah Foundation, putting a lot of money into anti-aging research. He's also funding a lot of startup companies through his Founders Fund. And he's actively seeking to invest in New Zealand. He bought a house in Auckland relatively recently. So I think you should look for Peter Thiel having a big impact on the early stage startup, seed and startup, angel investing, venture capital community in New Zealand in the future. Oh, you've probably heard of this guy. Sam, what an interesting guy this is. He's now 31 years old, sold TradeMe for a bunch of cash. At that point in time, TradeMe represented 60% of all Kiwi web traffic. So what's Sam doing? Well, he started out right after he sold TradeMe investing in a lot of startup companies. But his passion has changed. He really wants to help poor farmers, illiterate children, and he wants to help fight disease in Africa and elsewhere. He's founded Jasmine Social Investments, and frankly, I've been doing some reading of some of the stuff that Sam has written. This is a post, this link is a post. I would highly encourage you to read his post because he's validating what Drucker has been telling us. He reports that the United Nations and other huge government and quasi-government agencies are spending billions and billions in Africa. And the net amount of their investment that is reaching the need is 3%. 3% of their billions of dollars is reaching the needy. What's happening to the rest of it? Well, things like administration, fraud, and outrageous contracts. For example, the UN requires that very high wages being paid to people who are contracting to build bridges or roads or schools or whatever, rather than the prevailing wage, so they're sort of screwing up the infrastructure at the same time. These big agencies have no metrics for success. They're not measuring outcomes. They're just pouring more money into the top of that funnel, hoping that a few dollars will get to the bottom. Guys like Sam, and there are many people like Sam in Africa, are making a difference. Before they make an investment, they're certifying programs to make sure that those programs are measuring outcomes, looking at metrics, and secondly, they're insisting that these programs have efficient and qualified management teams. No graft, no fraud, audited statements, et cetera, et cetera. Read this post. I urge you to read this post. It'll tell you a lot about what's going on in philanthropy by entrepreneurs like Sam compared to what the big government agencies are doing in Africa.